But this is the file that Fredo sent to me and he sent to Trap Lord Ross also. Okay, so guys, obviously I'm sitting on the podcast sofa and it's because you're in for a long video. I've spoken to Fredo. Trap Lord Ross also spoke to Fredo. You're going to see a little cameo. We have a quick FaceTime conversation about what we spoke about with Fredo. And he has pretty much said that this Mr. Fake Flex page is being run by an Instagram account called Lottie, also known as Charlotte Georgina Skeens. He says she has stalked him for years. And I hopped on a call with Fredo and his business manager, and they sent me a bunch of documents regarding a case where she tried to claim that the intellectual property rights belong to her and not Fredo for his PG clothing brand. There's even a duplicate company that was created by Charlotte. He says that she is a mastermind. He says she is a genius at forging documents and that she is faking DMs and messages and using old voice notes to paint narratives on this Mr. Fake Flex account. And he reckons it's her behind it. Fredo said there would be plenty of times where he would fly to Dubai, she would randomly be there, pop out at events, and he would have no idea how she knew where he was. He says that she tried to steal £300,000 worth of PG clothing stock by using a fake company to trick the storage company into not allowing Fredo to access his own stock. He says that she pretended to have a whole law firm. He says that she used fake voice notes to ruin the relationship that Fredo had with a woman called Mariana Majana, who is apparently Cortez Clint 419's ex-girlfriend. Now, he says she was an integral part of the PG brand at the start, but ended up leaving because of fake messages made by Charlotte. I'll quote exactly what Fredo said to me. "Hey, Tankz, do you watch that Netflix show Baby Reindeer?" "Yeah." "Yeah, she's my baby reindeer, bro." Fredo also gave some context on the Fredo story, and he was very passionate when he was talking about that. He's given his side of that. He also talks about how Kick Game is failing. He says he still owns 7% of Kick Game, but the company is being run terribly. He gives a full breakdown of how they tried to expand and spent £1.5 million on Jordan 1s. Apparently, he says the business is being run terribly right now, and they have no cash, and he can't wait to sell his shares. And he even says that Kick Game messed up his relationship with Trapstar because Kick Game owes Fredo £28,000. And he has also said that he reckons the Dubai police were tipped off by the UK authorities to get him arrested in Dubai. There's so much for us to cover, guys. Listen, we're going to break down everything. We're going to take a look at the files that he sent over. And yeah, I need to do it from my desk. So we're going to go to the desk. We're done chilling here. We might come back here later on in the video because it's a long video. Now, one thing I'll tell you is when talking to rappers, take everything with a pinch of salt, because when you're media, especially for myself, rappers will tell you exactly they'll tell you what they want put out there. You know what I mean? And I expect nothing less. You know, it's business at the end of the day. I don't know you. And that's why it's just important. Like when you're talking to these rappers, you know, anyone who might talk to a rapper, just ignore the fact that they're a rapper. You know, I had to ignore the fact that it's Fredo and just remember, yo, this guy shouted me. So we'll start off with Charlotte Lottie, the woman who Fredo says is behind this page. Now, this is the page over here, Mr. Fake Flex. They're not still posting that much, are they? 18.2 mil in a few days is absolutely crazy. Dave speaks on newly surfaced screenshots. Wow. And you know what here? If the Shade Bar is posting it, it's probably Lidge. So Fredo's team's argument is that they say all of these screenshots are fake and it's crazy the Shade Bar started posting it. It's a chat from 2021. And if the Shade Bar is posting it, the Shade Bar has been able to verify it. That means the Shade Bar must have someone verifying it because these lot told me, Fredo and his team told me these are all fake. He said it's not real. They're taking old voice notes and that him and Dave are cool. And Dave is obviously not going to come out and speak on it because he's Santan Dave. That's what was told to me by Fredo. And yeah, but their argument was like in WhatsApp, how do you make the messages do that? Brother, the UK is Diddy at this point. Fredo trying to take it down. Everyone save it. Appeal to the oversight board. Oversight board appeals. No way. They're getting everything taken down. Save it. Everyone follow the backup. Now, Fredo says all of this is fake. He says it's fake. He says the DMs they're creating are fake. But Fredo is saying that this girl who used to work at Chanel and is currently in a court battle with Chanel has been stalking him for years. That's what he says. He says she's 31 and everything is alleged here because she did DM me first. They're saying she's crazy and she's stalking them and she has this agenda over him, and we're going to take a look at why that agenda might exist. So I'm going on WhatsApp to view the thing again, and Fredo said, yo bro, we need the in-depth, you're the main one bro. But this is the file that Fredo sent to me and he sent to Trap Lord Ross also. And Fredo's whole story is he says that Charlotte Georgia Skims, I keep forgetting how to say her name, Charlotte Georgina Skeens was his personal assistant and that she tried to steal his entire company. He says she never did much work. She was just doing admin work. But at the time, she was also working at Chanel, because it even says in the document, look, in mid-2020, just before Fredo registered the company, she came on board. And it says in 2021, Fredo became concerned about her obsessive behavior and began distancing himself from her. Now, as you can see here, she's currently in a lawsuit. Well, there's an ongoing case between Charlotte and Chanel, her old employer. We're actually going to go back and sit back there and chill and talk, all right? And I'll show you guys this stuff in a minute. Now, Fredo says that one of the only reasons he gave her a chance is because she bragged about working for Chanel. She said she used to work for Chanel. And Fredo was said she was an unofficial intern, but in the court documents where she is in court against Chanel, Chanel say that she used to work on their global rewards team. And after doing research on global rewards, it looks like that's a glorified word for kind of HR, you know? And Fredo said that she led him to believe that she was a very high up senior figure in Chanel, because she did used to work in the London Mayfair office. So that was probably a way of, you know, saying, hey, I work in Chanel, you know, I'm very high up, you know, I can get you in the fashion industry. Because obviously Fredo would love to have a connect to a brand like Chanel. That's a way into the fashion industry. These rappers care about fashion. These rappers are slaves to these luxury brands, man. Now keep in mind, while she was Fredo's personal assistant, she was also working for Chanel. Not sure the hours, not sure anything. And Fredo has said that, you know, she was one of them ones where it's like, bruv, if it's 2 a.m. and he needs her to book a flight for the man them to go to Germany or something, she'll get that done in an hour. She was reliable. But it took him a while for him to clock her weird ways, according to him. I mean, he literally said, this is my baby reindeer. I'm taking the piss in it. Let me stop. Let me stop doing that. But let's go back to the desk. We need to go more in depth. And recording these long videos are not for me. But in her ongoing case with Chanel, she did receive a temporary injunction to remove, you know, all of her videos where she's revealing apparently confidential information or, you know, slandering the brand. It's all in the case here. Apparently when she left Chanel, they reached a settlement agreement on the 29th of March 2022, and that settlement agreement forbids her from speaking on what the settlement was and saying anything about the company that's confidential or slanderous or libel. 8th of August 2024, they got an injunction. They extended the injunction to the 22nd of August 2024. The date for the expedited trial was set for the 2nd of December 2024, and Charlotte gave her defense on the 27th of September 2024, raising issues including undue influence procuring the settlement agreement. Because this trial is still ongoing, she ends up asking them for an adjournment so she can go and get a psychiatric evaluation to help her prove that she wasn't in the right mental state at the time to have signed this settlement agreement that she signed with Chanel. But in the meantime, the judge said, yo, listen, because the trial's still ongoing, you need to take down all these videos and you're not allowed to speak on this. The old stitches on TikTok are actually still up.
If you are someone that dreams of owning a Chanel handbag or is saving up to buy one, then I just want to let you know I used to work at the Chanel global headquarters and we used to get to buy their handbags for £200 as an employee. Think about that when you're trying to justify the price in your head or the price rises. Like, I've seen them being made in the factory. I've seen them in a warehouse out on a metal table, like with no packaging, piled high, and being able to buy them for £200. And suddenly, like, you just don't want them the same anymore. I own like 20 of these bags and I never use them because, like, I just see what a scam they are. Like, also, it's true, like, there's not even real gold in the clasp anymore. Like, there's no reason for them to be increasing their prices. Like, you're paying for the pretty box and the cloth bag and the store experience, like, tricking you into thinking it's more luxurious than it is. But you don't need to be spending thousands upon thousands of pounds on these bags. Like, if you saw them the way I see them.
And Fredo reckons that she's talking complete nonsense and she's crazy. This is how he's presented it, yeah? And Fredo did say that his friend PG Capo, he says that she, while she was working for him, got him a Chanel bag for £200. And he said that she bought the bag herself because he thinks that she comes from, you know, wealthy parents from the Midlands. And that she bought that expensive Chanel bag herself, sold it to PG Capo for £200 just for, you know, just to try and win their trust, to show, yes, see, I really do work at Chanel. But it's likely that she, you know, overestimated or overstated her actual clout in the company. And Fredo did say as well that he thought, like, yo, she's just this girl from Quay, like, who's come here and is excited to be involved in this thing. He didn't think that she was a stalker like he thinks, like he's saying now. Fredo says that in 2020 she visited him in Dubai like 2-3 times while he was there because she used to book all of his flights and she would just appear unannounced. And he says even in late 2022, after this day, when this Dave Flow video was shot, Fredo said that she randomly turned up at the Dave Flow video shoot, and he said that Tion Wayne, Giggs, Charlie Sloth can all vouch for him. Here's the Dave Flow video. Where's the part there? Charlie Sloth and these man. There's no way you're copyrighting this video, mate. But Charlie Sloth makes an appearance. Giggs makes an appearance. Does Tion Wayne make an appearance? We don't know. But also that BDK chain, he says that, I mean, he says he still has it. Well, his manager said he still has it. But they say that Charlotte, the personal assistant, the one who, oh, there's Tion Wayne, the one who was booking all of these flights, turned up unannounced, completely unannounced. And Fredo says that because she had a kid for one of the mandem, like, that's why she was more around. Fredo at this time said that he was thinking, nah, there's something off about this girl, it's wrong. Like, he was trying to distance himself from her. And he said the mandem weren't listening. The mandem weren't listening. But again, this is just Fredo's side of the story. I noted down the whole conversation with his consent, so I'm just relaying what he was saying. But he also said these messages were fake. And if Shade Bar is posting them, they've got them verified somehow. But now we're going to get into the evidence that was given against her in Fredo's case against her, where he says she tried to steal his company. Now, after reading all of it, it all stems from these two not agreeing before they did business, pretty much. Because Fredo and his business manager, who I was on the phone to, they frame it as, she's trying to blackmail him for 100K. And then they're like, no, she actually doesn't care about the money. She just wants to ruin him because they're trying to say that she's a crazy stalker. Well, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of documents in here to look at. And the first one I'll show you is this: WhatsApp messages demanding money in exchange for Fredo's IPRs to be retained by him. Well, first, before we do that, let's take a look at the actual companies. And in the document, it says Fredo, filed the company, registered the company under PG Records Limited on the 30th of May 2020. And 2 months later, Charlotte registered the disputed IPRs as belonging to Fredo. She did that for him. This is evidence of that. And it says, it was Charlotte Georgina Skeens who did that. Did it on his behalf. Now, the way they were framing it to me is that these two company names looked similar. They are similar, but one is Parental Guidance Limited with a 1 at the end instead of an L, and the other is you are operating under PG Records Limited. Similar, but they're different names, It's not something you could really confuse. PG Records, Parental Guidance, different. And it says Fredo is the only director of this company, and an old director was Jason David Colker. That is now, as we know, Fredo's accountant, because if you take a look at filing history, office address changes, we noticed that a lot of Fredo's companies ended up changing their addresses. Well, once we look up David Jason Colker, we can go on his LinkedIn and we can see that he moved in June 2025 to Sulphur & Co. He is a partner there. That's why he left. For a promotion. And once we Google the address that all of his companies have been changed to, you can see it's the accountancy firm that his accountant is now a partner at. So it looks like that address change wasn't really anything. But I've got to set the scene for you guys before we continue, okay? Because the story, I'm actually going to go sit back down and I'm going to tell you guys this story. 1 second. Let me get comfortable. So Fredo and his business manager alleged that Charlotte attempted to steal £300,000 worth of merchandise. He says that because she was his personal assistant, when it came to getting lockup locations, storage locations, he left that to her. And that she got storage locations at the Big Yellow in Harlesden. He said Harlesden, he said Scrubs Lane. I know the one in Scrubs Lane. And he had another storage location at the Big Yellow in Kennington. He says because she opened them and she registered it under the other company where she is listed as a director, that she gave herself special privileges. So Fredo says he went there to clean out some stock, and because he was cleaning out stock and he wasn't listed as the main director, the main person in charge, Big Yellow saw him emptying stock and phoned Charlotte. Charlotte then came down there straight away, and Fredo asked her, "What are you doing here? How do you know I was here?" And she said that they alerted her. Fredo says she was stalking him. And now we're going to teleport to the location. Then he says that she anticipated that they were going to the Kennington Big Yellow, and she zoomed there before them, and she went in there and told them not to let Fredo take their stuff, which pretty much said, "Listen, I'm the director, it's my account, don't give him access." And then she cut. And then Fredo says he spoke to the employees. Apparently one of them knew Giggs. They FaceTime Giggs, and then Giggs verified as Fredo or something like that, he said. And then he says that he FaceTimed Charlotte right in front of the employees and asked her, "Have you just been here and told them I can't access this place?" And the employees had just seen her tell them that he's not allowed in there. And he said that she acted like she had no idea what he was talking about, and the employees looked at each other and let him in. They went against all Big Yellow protocol and just let him in and take his stuff out of there, innit? And he's framed that as her trying to steal the stock. He said that's her trying to steal the stock. But the main issue I think there is here, guys, is there was no agreement, because they do say it's 100K. I was told she wants 100K. Here's proof is that. To me, it just looks like she's saying I'm worth more than 100K. I don't see this as her asking for 100K at all. It's like, plus you signed and uploaded a pic of your passport on a document saying, I am a founder of PG. So my lawyer just thinks it's an easy win in court for me to get 20-30% of the profits. But I was like, nah, I don't even want to be getting into it like that with Fred. Let me come to an agreement on a number with him, like 100K. And she's saying her lawyer said 100K is ludicrously cheap. Now, Fredo's lawyer or business manager has marked this as her demanding money in exchange for the IPRs to be retained by him. And here's another message of Fredo refusing to pay 100 grand. Fredo says, I know, just let me know a figure. I got a meeting with Jason next week and I'll go through the work you've done and figure out a reasonable sum if you're still saying 100 bags. And that brings us back to November 2022 scenario of getting your lawyer talking to me, etc. Because no one on my end who I ask feels like you've done £100,000 worth of work. Hopefully you can be reasonable, but I'm fine with whatever choice you make. Also, Fredo's manager said, you know, this highlighting two things on WhatsApp isn't possible, but this is the evidence that Fredo has used to prove that this is her demanding more than 100K. And look, it's WhatsApp. Both the messages are highlighted. So really, guys, come on, bruv. And this is a screenshot of emails of her emailing Fredo's accountant, Jason Coker. I hope you are well. I'm not sure if Fredo has discussed this with you, but he told me he was going to speak to you about a payment for me. Well, you did speak. For background, as you know, I've worked with Fredo for almost 3 years, and Fredo says on the phone, he said that he stopped working with her in 2021, not long after, but she says he's been working with her for 3 years on the clothing line, but also as an assistant. Now, they frame this in the evidence. This is why it's so important to just like monitor everything, because they frame this as her contacting Fredo's accountant, acknowledging that she was an assistant and that there was no agreement in place regarding payment. She makes no reference to owning any IPR. Now, they're trying to pin her as, you were just an assistant. You were just an assistant. No, she said, I was a part of the brand and an assistant. Now, Charlotte does claim recently he decided he didn't want to work with me anymore. And despite my efforts to smooth things over, he said he is cutting me out, but will speak to you about paying me for the work I did for the past 3 years. The previous arrangement we had was he called me his business partner and said we would come to an arrangement about how to pay me a percentage of profits or pay me when the company made money. I invested a lot of time in the company. And then they show evidence of her admitting she changed it into her name, more emails posted. As I said in our WhatsApp chat, me and the Dewhurst team, Dewhurst is the, you know, manufacturer of the clothes. They're the ones who they were working with closely to, you know, design logos for the brand. But Fredo says the amount of work you've done, it's laughable you ask for 100K. I've noticed how you've stalked and followed me around the world since January 2021 to the point I'm in the process of getting a restraining order. And now you apologize to me for why I had to sack her. I think there he's talking about Clint 419's ex-girlfriend Marajana. Apparently she was a part of the brand in early days. Marajana, if this is the wrong one, I'm so sorry, but I don't think it is. I think it is her. Looks like a fashion girl with this type of Instagram. Freaking hell. Yeah, well, that's getting liked. Because Fredo does allege that Charlotte forced Cortez's ex-girlfriend Mariana out of the company. So I'm going to completely ignore you now. When I meet with Jason, I'll show him more of an insight to how sick you are, just like I did with Kit Game, talking to yourself. Otherwise, I'll see you in court with all my evidence. And Lottie said, I didn't ask for 100K. I said, you and Jason come up with a figure because I want to be done with this. And so far, all of the evidence they've showed of her asking for 100K, I don't see her asking for 100K. The way it looks to me, and we're just giving everyone a fair chance here, especially because, listen, like these lot told me, and Charlotte says, since you're clearly behind on your mail, you won't have seen, but these are all the designs I was legally granted ownership to. I guess there clearly is more than enough evidence with Dewhurst. Obviously, you get sued if you use my designs, but I get any money you make from selling it, not just percentages. Now, Fredo alleges that she created a fake law firm because they have documents showing that they checked the email that the law firm was registered at, and they say the domain for this fake legal company was created 2 days before the intellectual property was transferred into her name. So she acted as a representative of Fredo, and she transferred two of the designs into her name, and she is the one who registered them for him. She registered the trademark for him. And another thing I will say, and here we go, the second document where she transferred it, and Fredo says this is fraudulent, and they say the law firm that she was using was not real. They have evidence that the law firm wasn't real. They say it wasn't registered with the Law Society or the SRA. In the UK, as far as I'm concerned, I believe you don't need to be part of the Law Society. It's like a membership thing, but if they're not registered with the SRA, then they're definitely not able to practice law in the country. And yes, Solicitors Regulation Authority, that's it. And they say here that this is her pretending that she is her godfather. Didn't your dad also say he had told him to make sure you are legally covered? So I'm sure he would have your back. If you went down that route, you definitely don't have anything to worry about. If you feel threatened, then he is gone, sleep on it. And they're alleging that she just made that all up. Our contact at PG at the time was Mariana Marjana. I believe this is Clint 419's ex-girlfriend. Fredo and his business manager said that she managed to get a hold of real police documents. This is all their word though. This is all what they're saying. Just keep that in mind, guys. And they say that this is her fake law firm emailing Kick Game about the violation of the trademark. And it's a banging email, but they say this is completely fake, and they say it's just used to tarnish Fredo's name. Fredo was arrested on this time at his home in Enfield for possession of this, possession of that, And Fredo says that it's annoying because she only knows a lot of things because she acted as his personal assistant, according to him. Now, I'm going to link this document in the description if you lot want to look at it. I feel like they put this together thinking, okay, we're gonna put this out and prove our innocence. They also say here, they say that all the correspondence regarding the trademark was sent to Charlotte's own address, and Fredo didn't receive notification that this transfer had been initiated. Fredo also says that he bought her a Rolex, bought her a Cartier, and they claim that she's making a bunch of fake messages and the court should not trust anything that she puts forward. And Fredo has been willing to give his phones and things like that to prove that he's innocent. Well, Fredo's been willing to give his phone and stuff to say, listen, like, my messages aren't fake, hers are. But they say this is what she's doing. They say this is what she's doing with the whole, you know, group chat, if she's even behind it. They say that she's the one behind it, but they say this is what she's doing on that Mr. Fake Flex page. Fredo says that he was at a party with some friends and the police thought that his friends were involved in a fight, and Fredo called her or messaged her, voice noted her saying, come and collect my £300,000 worth of jewelry, because he thought he might be arrested and he doesn't want to be arrested with 300k worth of jewelry, because you know what these police can be like, all right? And again, this email, they try and say this is evidence of her transferring the property into her own name for money. I don't think that's the case. She's just saying I was legally granted ownership to these things. So this is the case document, and it says the applicant, which is Fredo, stated that the proprietor, which is Charlotte, had fraudulently transferred the trademark into her ownership and forged Fredo's signature. In court, in the official court document, it says, one further matter I wish to note is that there was an accusation that the proprietor forged the applicant's signature on the TM16 form. This was not the case. They had registered themselves as Fredo's representative. Then they signed the form as both the representative of Mr. Bailey and the new proprietor of the mark. Now, her argument was relying on WhatsApp messages, and they say that she was faking the WhatsApp messages of Fredo saying that it's yours. But the evidence that Charlotte gave were screenshots of conversations with Fredo where he states to put the logos in your name, you take the logos trademark. And they say that these WhatsApp messages were fake, not the court, but Fredo and his business manager, whatever. And because that's the only evidence they had, and like there's no evidence of a written assignment of the trademarks in question, the rectifications are allowed the registers to be rectified to record Fredo as the proprietor as well as the position prior to the fill-in contested form. So Fredo won this case simply because it wasn't written on paper. That's the law. If it was written on paper and signature on paper, she could have won this case, and the court said she did not forge anything. And you know what it is? One question I have here is cool. All right, she feels like she's entitled to £100,000. She says that she was working and doing work for you for just under 3 years. She was also working at Chanel until 2022. And there's nothing in here that says what she's saying isn't true. And also, if she was your assistant, I hope you had her on payroll, right? You were paying her, innit? Because you pay your assistants a salary or a wage, don't you? Oh no, you weren't paying her. That's important. Because if you weren't paying her, are we supposed to believe that she agreed to work for free because you thought she was this girl that was just happy to be involved? No, bro. It's known that women are less likely to ask for money. And you could look at it like you sold her a dream. You said, listen, we'll talk about money later. You just do this. She feels like she added some value to your brand. She's the one who registered the trademark anyway. And later on down the line, she's not been paid anything by you. I mean, you do say that you bought her a Rolex, you bought her a Cartier or whatever, but that's not a salary. That's not a wage. That's gifts, innit? How's she gonna feel? She's being thrown out. She might have planned, hey, yo, I'm involved in this big thing. Next thing you know, she's gone. She ain't been paid all this time. She invested a lot of time. time. And Fredo says, oh, the amount of work, people are saying the work you put in 100K is a joke, but how much time has she devoted to you? Fredo himself said to me that she is the type of girl that was always available. He said you could call her at 2 a.m. and need her in Germany and she'll be there. If she was that ready for you, that's a lot of her time that she sacrificed for you and you weren't paying her. Because he even said to me, like, you know, the main reason she was kept around is because she worked for Chanel and, you know, he thought she was a high up at Chanel, but it turns out she works in a form of HR. Other things Fredo said, he said that she was begging to go to Wu's funeral. As for the stalking allegations, I don't think a restraining order has been filed against her. And remember as well, he is saying that she is the one behind this fake flex account. He says that in 2021 he started distancing himself from her. However, in late November 2022, it looks like you guys were still having discussions, you know? But Fredo blames that on the fact that she got herself in with his friends. She had a kid with one of his peoples, and that's what kept her in the mix. But yeah, that's everything about Charlotte, guys. Now we're getting to the juicy bit. All right. So I spoke to Fredo about Clavish. I spoke to Fredo about Kick Game. Now Fredo says he owns 7% of Kick Game. That's what I remember. That's what I noted down him saying on the phone. He says he still owns his share of Kick Game, but the management is poor and the company has no money anymore. He said Kick Game still owes him over £20,000. This is the Kick Game party that Fredo says costed 16K at Kick Game. Says it costed him 16 grand to throw this. There's scraps there. I didn't even know about PG clothing at the time, to be honest with you. Fredo spoke about how Kick Game was, you know, we're going to sit down actually and talk about this. We're sitting down. Hey, my people, this is a long one. If we could just give the video a like, it'd be very much appreciated. Thank you very much. W's in the chat. This is quite comfy. Fredo spoke about how Kick Game messed up his relationship with Mikey, Lee, and Lee Trapstar. Now, what Fredo told me is that when Trapstar did an Iceberg collection release, they wanted Fredo to do a photo shoot to promote it. Fredo said, cool, I need £50,000. Now he says he spoke to somebody called Rob at Kick Game. Now he says Rob at Kick Game, apparently Rob is the guy who runs things at Kick Game though, and he's the one who has made terrible decisions. Fredo said Rob is the type of guy who just doesn't know when to say no. You could go into the store, and I quote, you could go into the store, pick up some shoes, he'll say, yeah bro, take them shoes for free, take them for free, and then he'll try put it on your bill after, you know what I mean? But Fredo said because he wanted Kick Game to stock Trapstar, he said, yo, tell Mikey and Lee, just give me 50 grand worth of stock into Trapstar and boom, I'll give you the 50 grand out of my own pocket. Because remember, Fredo said he owns 7% of Kick Game. 7%. If you own 90% of the company, it's different. Like, you can just charge it to the company, you know? Because obviously, if you own like 90% of the company, then it would make more sense to say, you know what, I was meant to get 50 grand, but I'll let the company have that 50 grand. But when you own 7%, it doesn't make any sense, and it's business. But Fredo says, cool, the day of the shoot comes, bang, he ain't been paid, and he said he's not doing the shoot if he's not paid. And obviously, Mikey and Lee have the agreement with Rob, but Rob hasn't come through. So Fredo says Mikey and Lee end up giving Fredo another £50,000, and he ends up doing the shoot. And he says that this messed up his relations with Mikey and Lee Trapstar in the future, because he says when he wanted to drop his album, I'm not sure which one it was, and he wanted to do a Trapstar collab, which we see a lot of rappers do these days, they were moving a bit off with him, and it never ended up happening. And Fredo also told me about how Kick Games allegedly spent £1.5 million on Jordan 1s around lockdown times, because Jordan 1s were the thing back then. How silly was that? And that they opened a store in Liverpool, Newcastle, and some other places, like a few stores they opened. They tried to expand too quickly and the stores had to close down because they weren't making any money, because most of the motion is coming from online. And he says that for the Liverpool store, for example, they signed a 5-year lease. The shop was only open for a year and they've got to pay 4 more years. Well, they said they've got to pay for 4 more years, but they're probably going to try and sublet the space instead. But it's just bad business decisions, you know what I mean? And that's if the lease, I mean, if they signed a terrible lease, that means they can't even sublet the place. They might as well keep the shop open. But I'm assuming they can rent the place to another, you know what? He said Alicia, who works at Kick Game, said the company has no money. I'm just reading the notes I took on the phone call because I'm not a slimy guy to record the phone call, even though I could have. Oh yeah. He also addressed the scamming allegations from that person, Ayat. What does Fredo claim? He says that she was an employee who was kind of in charge of dealing with artists at Kick Game. And he says that she's just angry because he won't pay her out of his own pocket, because he is kind of the face of Kick Game, even though he owns 7%. And that Kick Game is in such major financial trouble that they owe their employee £12,000. pounds. Like, they owe her £12,000. It's ridiculous. Like, it's a joke, man. Like, whoever's, it's like, it's all, like, it all looks good on the outside. Yeah, I'm investing all this stuff, bro, but evil eye is real, man. This investment sounds terrible, bruv. It sounds like it's being run poorly. Fredo also says he didn't fly out Maya Mills. They were in the same party, and while Charlotte was there, she harbored all of the pictures. I think they called her Lottie, but I just been addressing her as Charlotte in this whole video. And I asked him what he had to say about, in court, Maya Mills apparently slapping him at an event in 2022 being mentioned, and he said, what did he even say about that again? He said, I don't remember. I think he said it didn't happen or something. I think that's when he started talking about the fact that they're saying he fled and ran and left the country, when he says that he was out on bail and he was reporting to Edmonton police station, Edmonton in North London, I believe, or whatever Edmonton really is there. There's an Edmonton in Canada, I think. He said he would report there twice a week and that he got permission to travel to Dubai when he went there. And he says he has a little theory that the UK authorities are the ones who alerted the Dubai authorities to arrest him for weed possession. And he says that's what kept him held over there. And he was unable to, go back to the UK because he was being held indefinitely in the Dubai jail. His manager said they only got out because they were pardoned. And he says he reckons they did that because if he was there, he would have all the money, he would have the best lawyer, and, his lawyer would have been the main lawyer, and it would have been more likely that the guys would have bust case. He says he's got a letter that shows he had written permission to be in Dubai at the time anyway. And he said the only evidence they have on him is that he mentioned something about a drop and tape in a freestyle, but he said he's got evidence on an engineer's computer that he recorded the song 6 months before the alleged incident took place. He said this account's going crazy. He said one of his friends asked him if the bag he got her was real. I'll put it on the screen actually because I can't be asked to go on my computer, but he WhatsApped me a bunch of chats showing that he was buying the bags, and I quote Fredo, "See, these man pay 7 bags for retail. I don't buy the bags retail. I buy them aftermarket prices." And as for that Instagram girl, Capri, he says that he was only with her because he stopped talking to his girl for a bit. He says he does not cheat on Georgia. And as for the Toronto girl as well, that lying woman, she came there for business. He sent me DMs between him and his girl where she exposes that she came there for business. She didn't come there for this other stuff. So it's just a mess. It's just like, what the hell, bruv? This girl fully just came on capping, but that's a contradiction to 2 DMs that I've seen, So now it makes me think either the page is capping or Fredo's capping, because the page posted some DMs on WhatsApp of them two talking crazy to each other, saying like, yeah, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, da-da-da. And in the DMs that he sent me between his girl and her, it's her saying I was lying, da-da-da, XYZ. So if both of them are true, this girl from Toronto is even weirder than I thought, or if one of them's true and one of them's cap, then someone's lying. Fredo said after he bought the Richard Millie, the man them been corrupted. He said, I'm starting to see who the real ones are. He said he asked his right-hand friend who was believing these messages being sent. He said, go to her yard, I'll give you 50 bags if she can show you the DMs on her phone. Go to her yard. He said she would love to ruin my life. He said if you go there, if you say you'll go there, she'll show you in person if she had them. He said 50 bags and I'll pay for the cab. He said his friend never went there. I suggested, when Fredo first got in contact with me, I said, bro, if you want to do an interview, listen, I'll get on the next flight to Thailand tomorrow because that interview would be worth it for me. But his manager said, they've never done an interview before, XYZ. So we're here now, innit? We're here. To reiterate, Fredo said Rob is a good guy. They said Broad Day can't go to his own block. He spoke about his baby mum, but you know what? I don't even want to address that. Like, if you're caring about a next man's baby mum, bro, there's something up with you still. Oh, we nearly forgot the juiciest story. He told me his perspective on the Clavish situation. Now, get your popcorn, guys. Get your popcorn. I'm so comfortable in this position, but I should have done the whole video from this position, just lying down, man. It's currently 5 a.m. I've stayed up all night putting this together for you guys, man. This is probably going to be like an hour-long video, probably my longest video ever, bro. But I'm chilling. Hope you guys are enjoying it, bro. We're spilling all the tea. So, if I'm sure you guys have been keeping up with Bouncer, keeping up with Ache, I'm sure, I don't know who hasn't. Well, he went over the disses, the disses that Clavish is allegedly sending to Fredo, innit? Now, Fredo says that this whole thing is over £10,000. He says it's over 10 bags. And when he said that, I thought, bruv, are you serious? Really? Like, this is over £10,000? But hear the story, all right? And when Fredo was telling me this story, he sounded really passionate. And when I say passionate, I'm talking road guy passionate. As in, like, you think these guys can chat to me? They're little boys. They're little boys to me. He's a mini-me. Clavish wants to be me. I'm sorry, bro. The Fredo impressions just, bro, everyone has their own Fredo impression, bro. It's like, I love it, fam. I'll get serious now. It's serious because this is a serious story that needs he's breaking down. So Fredo says Clavish was in a deal. Clavish wanted him to do a feature. Now, obviously, them man probably have like a bunch of songs. There's probably songs they have together that you're never going to hear. But Clavish said, yo, I want to do this feature. Now, I think it's for this song, like that last song they did together. I think it's for that song where this problem was. Now, a lot of the time, what artists will do is they'll do this, yeah? If you're in a deal, and AJ Tracy has said this publicly, he said he'll charge more for his feature if you're in a deal, because it's the label paying. However, that label money needs to be recouped, and we're not sure whatever the split was in Clavish's Polydor Records deal, if it was with them at the time. But Fredo sees himself as doing a favor for them, man. He sees it from, this is how he sees it from his perspective. He's like, yo, I told them, man, you told them 70 bags for the feature, I'll take 50 in cash, and then, you know, you man keep the 20. Now, Fredo sees it as cool. I'm just doing this guy who wants to be me a favor, you know, this mini me a favor. That's how he sees it. But the way Clavish is gonna see it is, bruv, this is my money, and £70,000, me getting you a £70,000, getting you a feature fee, is putting money in your pocket and doing you a favor anyway. Like, don't act like this is you doing him a favor. Clavish is also doing you a favor. I'm just imagining how he's going to be processing this if this is what happened. Like, because yeah, artists can say, yeah, I charge this much for a feature, that much for a feature, but how often are people coming to you saying they're willing to pay that, you know, realistically, especially in the UK, not that many artists are going to be queuing up to pay 50 bags for a Fredo feature. But Fredo says he made it clear that it was 50 grand in cash, because if it's bank transfer, then he's got to pay tax on that. Now, obviously, all tax would be paid anyway, even though Fredo's company was liquidated just over a week ago by HMRC for unpaid taxes. I asked Fredo about that actually to add into it, and he did say that I got it spot on in my video, that his accountant just advised him to let the company die because he says it was unpaid taxes from like 2017, 2018, probably interest payments got crazy, and it's like, yo, let me just let this company die. Fredo said they've given Tion Wayne cash for a verse before, but not him. He said Shot by Toxic can vouch. 4 days before the shoot, he hadn't been paid. He said he ended up getting the £70,000 sent to his bank account, so it was a bank transfer, not cash. The label sent the money directly to Fredo. And because it wasn't cash, and obviously when it's bank transfer, you gotta have to pay tax on that, Fredo said he gave them £10,000 instead of £20,000. Now remember, let's say Clavish has a split of 70-30, yeah, in his deal. That £70,000 realistically is £91,000 that he needs to pay back. Not 70,000, he has to pay back £90,000, because in recoupment it only comes out of your split. But Fredo says that MB, his manager, said, what about the other 10 grand after Fredo sent them 10 grand? And then Fredo's like, these lot are so freaking ungrateful. And he said he told MB it's because of tax reasons. And MB, Clavish, his manager, said, bro, we had a deal. Can't we get 20k instead? Fredo says no, and then Clavish does his first diss. And Fredo says the first diss, Fredo and his team, they say the first diss, like they hear that, like they let that slide, they say. But they say it was the second diss where Clavish said we ain't gonna be chipping in for burners, is where they went mad. And they were like, nah, and he says that Toxic TV, MB, all of these guys can vouch. He said that they phoned Clavish and his team saying, what are you talking about? Because we're not chipping in for burners. This is like, you know, the whole HRB cases. Yo, these lot were in a Snapchat group chat talking about chipping in for guns. And Fredo told me that Clavish and his team said they weren't talking about him. He said they told him they weren't talking about him. And he said that Toxic and MB can vouch this, that he told them lot right now, if the money's that much of a problem, give me £50,000 in cash and I'll transfer you £70,000 right now. And he said they didn't do it. And Fredo said the reason they didn't do it is because they're music boys. I'm quoting everything he was saying. He said these man don't get money on the roads. These man are strictly music guys. And as for the Australia thing involving Clavish and Bet365, obviously Fredo said he didn't have anything to do with that. And Fredo also said to me that he bought everything cash. He said he bought it all cash. He said go and ask them lot if I'm paying bank transfers and that, bro. He said I gave all cash to Hoosh. I gave Hoosh all cash, A Jewelers. And his manager told me that him and Fredo were laughing, apparently, that I was the one who started the narrative that his bank accounts are frozen. They're saying his bank accounts are not frozen, man. They're saying, how do you think we signed the deal in Australia? And my rebuttal to that is, why are you signing to a label in Australia? You're a UK artist. What the hell? You were signed to Since 93, I believe, before Since 93, that's owned by Sony. What happened there? But now you're signing with an Australian label. It doesn't make any sense in my eyes. However, they say that it's all legit. And they say that a lot of these Snapchat messages, as for the underage stuff and all of that, that it's all fake screenshots. They say it's all fake stuff. They say that they've pretty much, Fredo has told me, listen, the person behind this Mr. Fake Flex page is a person called Charlotte, also known as Lottie. And Lottie, she did DM me. I think we spoke about that at the start of the video, and she said, can you please not mention me in the videos anymore? Now, if it turns out that you are not the person behind the page, as these guys say, Lottie, I apologize to you. However, Fredo has said that this girl's crazy. She's the one running the page. She's a mastermind, able to make screenshots, all this stuff like that, and she's obsessed with him, has been stalking him for since you know, that's what happened at the company, and says he's doing the same thing with Chanel that she tried to do to him, and the Chanel case is still ongoing. And he says that she harbored the pictures of him and Maya Mills and waited to release them. And yeah, I think that is everything. I think that is actually everything. Yeah. And he says his girl Georgiana, before he ever met Charlotte, only had 4 people blocked. Now she's got like 400 people blocked, because he said Charlotte will pretend to be his girlfriend, XYZ, all of this stuff like that. And while Fredo was telling me these mad stories, you know what I asked him? Yeah, I said, Fred, are you sure you've never piped her before? Because like that's the only way that I can even begin to make some sense of this. Because hearing all of this and you've not given her any wood, like it just sounds so, it's just a lot, you know what I mean? It's like, what? Oh, I'm so happy I found this as well. Fredo said that she tricked him and Nines' lawyer, Lizzie Payne, into thinking that she knew her. He says Nines can vouch. He said she reached out on email saying, do you remember me, etc. She went on Lizzie's Instagram, found out who her friends were, and mentioned school names and mentioned things. Fredo says that Charlotte used this to lie and say there was a conflict of interest, so the lawyer wouldn't represent Fredo, you know, in the case, in this, you know, in that civil case, that IPO, what do you call it? I forgot what it's called, intellectual property case, man. Fredo says that she tried to do that to get his lawyer unable to represent him at trial against her because there's a conflict of interest. That's what Fredo alleges she did. He says this was a long time ago and she's still holding on. He says she goes on TikTok, lies about meeting A-list celebrities when she's never met any of them and she's 31. He said it started after he bought a Richard Mille and the man them have been corrupted. She studies how he talks. All right, I think that's everything. I'm getting a bit tired now. Let me start editing this video. Let's go back to the desk, guys.
Fredo doesn't say that Charlotte was a wrong business partner. He says she was a deranged stalker and has made this Instagram account called Mr. Fake Flex, posting evidence that looks real to us that is fake, even though the Shade Bar recently posted the leaked DMs between Fredo and Dave. Fredo told me those DMs are not real. He said that what they're doing, or what she's doing, if she's the one behind the account, is taking old voice notes and putting them in, faking them and making the chats look real. And here, you know, Lottie has been posted on the account, and Lottie did ask me, hey, can you not include me? But Fredo was literally said, you're the one behind this account now. And he said that you're a deranged stalker. And Fredo did say, yo, him and Dave are cool. Like, what else did he say? He said, bro, I would never say anything about Dave. I was in Dave's yard and there's no TV. There's just a whiteboard in his yard and we're talking about ideas, etc. Fredo says that she made a fake law firm and the evidence for that does add up. But just because she maybe faked, you know, being a law firm so she could, you know, maybe try and intimidate people, that doesn't mean you're a deranged stalker. But Fredo did say he never slept with her. He said, I don't mix pleasure with business. So he says that she also forged signatures, and in the case documents, it says the judge says that she did no such thing. He said that she lied about working at Chanel, that she was never working there, that she was an intern, when in court documents it says that she worked there for 3 years and worked there while she was still working with the brand that she says. But Fredo says, no, you weren't meant to be a part of the brand, even though she's the one who registered the IP for him, but that she was his personal assistant. Well, we paying her a salary then, because she says she wasn't paid. She says she invested a lot of time into the business. And she says that you guys agreed, okay, as time goes on, once the brand starts making money, then we'll talk about fees. Then we'll talk about how much we're going to pay you or how much you're going to get. And they say that she's, you know, demanding 100K. There's no evidence in that whatsoever that she's demanding 100K. She's just saying she feels like she's done more than that. And I don't even feel like there was anything in there of anyone backing Fredo's claims that she's not done £100,000 worth of work. It's just Fredo saying, I don't feel like you've done £100,000 worth of work. When she says she was there working for nearly 3 years, Fredo says she was only there for a few months. And in 2021, early 2021 or mid 2021, maybe it was a year instead, he felt she was weird and started, you know, but she was still around. And he says that she stayed around because she was, the man them were around her, and she ended up having a kid for one of the, you know what, I hope you guys follow the video because I'm just tired of talking about this. Listen, leave a like on the video. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace and love to every single one of you.